This will just be a really quick lecture covering the regulation of filtration in the kidneys. So if you will recall, filtration occurs within the nephrons of the kidneys. And there is a filtration membrane that is composed of the layers of the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, or also known as the glomerular capsule, which surrounds the glomerulus. And the process of filtration occurs in order to filter blood and to form filtrate, which that is what gets filtered out of the blood and what initially enters the renal tubule. That ultimately gets modified through the reabsorption of substances and later the secretion of other substances, and eventually that will become urine. So there are several mechanisms that help to regulate the glomerular filtration rate. And there's two major mechanisms. The first one is the intrinsic controls. The other ones are the extrinsic controls. And intrinsic means within. So these are mechanisms within the kidneys themselves that help to regulate filtration rate. This is also called renal auto-regulation because auto means self. So, and renal refers to the kidneys. So the kidneys are regulating themselves. So basically, these intrinsic controls are in place to maintain a constant, steady filtration rate, no matter what is going on in the body. The major factor that influences filtration rate is blood pressure. And throughout the day, there are many changes that are taking place to blood pressure. It's increasing, it's decreasing, but regardless of those changes that are taking place, it's important to maintain a constant filtration rate so that wastes and excess substances continue to be filtered out of the blood so that they don't build up. And I am going to talk about the two mechanisms that are within the intrinsic controls. The first one is called the myogenic mechanism. And this results in either vasoconstriction or vasodilation of the afferent arteriole in response to blood pressure changes. So first of all, the afferent arteriole is the arteriole that is carrying blood into the glomerulus, which is that network of capillaries where filtration actually takes place. So blood has to travel through the afferent arteriole in order to reach the glomerulus to be filtered. So if blood pressure in the afferent arteriole increases, so if blood pressure increases, then that would lead to an increase in filtration rate. So make sure that you are aware of why that would happen. So if there's increased blood pressure, there's more blood passing through the afferent arteriole at once. So that would lead to an increase in the filtration rate. But we have this mechanism in place in order to prevent changes in the filtration rate. So if the filtration rate, because of that higher blood pressure, is going to start to increase and increase, we want to decrease it and bring it back down to normal. So that's what the response is going to be. And in order to bring about that response, the afferent arteriole, and you can see this if you look at this top diagram on the PowerPoint slide, the afferent arteriole will constrict. It will perform vasoconstriction. So you can see that that causes narrowing of the arteriole. That's going to decrease blood flow through that arteriole. So now less blood is going to reach the glomerulus. And as a result, that's going to decrease the glomerular filtration rate. All right. So if blood pressure is increasing, leading to an increase in filtration rate, you will have vasoconstriction of that afferent arteriole in order to decrease blood flow into the glomerulus, and that's going to decrease the filtration rate. So hopefully that makes sense, and then you'll understand that the exact opposite situation will happen if there is a decrease in blood pressure. So if there is a decrease in blood pressure, as blood is passing through the afferent arteriole, then that would lead to a decrease in the filtration rate. But like we said earlier, you want to try to prevent any changes in the filtration rate, no matter what else is happening with regard to blood pressure. So you don't want the filtration rate to decrease. You want to keep it at that same level. So if blood pressure is decreasing and that's causing a decrease in the filtration rate, you're going to want to do something to bring that filtration rate back up to that normal number. So the response would be the exact opposite of what we saw in the first situation. The afferent arteriole will dilate. That's called vasodilation. And that will increase blood flow through that afferent arteriole into the glomerulus. And now if there is an increased amount of blood reaching the glomerulus per minute, then that is going to increase the filtration rate.